the work in the St. Helens School District. Today, as we get started, I'd like to emphasize a few things we think are important for the St. Helens community to know. As Stacy noted, the preliminary corrective action plan has been developed or has been released yesterday. It has been developed through the input and guidance of many students, parents, staff members, and community members and leaders. Dr. Webb, the school board, and district leadership wish to express their sincere appreciation to everyone who has been actively involved in this process. The preliminary document includes 6 focus areas: community engagement, which, as you can see, you have access to the plan as well, but I'm just going to highlight a couple of things. The community engagement, it includes the development of a number of advisory councils and continuing quarterly listening sessions, among other activities. Another focus area is around ongoing engagement and collaboration with law enforcement. This includes bringing back the school resource officer and ongoing collaboration with appropriate law enforcement agencies. It involves the corrective action plan, also includes a focus on policy, procedure, and reporting as expected, in addition to an emphasis on training and identifying the appropriate materials for that training. It also includes working with the Oregon School Boards Association on a needs assessment related to the district's policies and procedures. There's also a focus on culture, climate, and belonging. This in particular, I think, is reflective of some of the things that you see reflected in what was shared during the district listening sessions. In addition to a culture and climate survey, it also outlines the need for an implementation plan related to the same. The corrective action plan includes a section focused on family advocacy and support. You'll notice there is the inclusion of an ombudsman in that section to help improve the connection and opportunity, the pathway for family and students to connect with district leadership and resolve concerns and issues in a timely way, for them to have support to be able to do that. And also the final section in the corrective action plan is around administrative services and accountability. And as I know you've heard me say, and you've heard Dr. Webb say in his comments before the board and before the community, all of this work, in order to move this work forward and for the community to have confidence in the district's forward motion, accountability is key. And so the other piece that I'd like to emphasize is that, what the document that was released yesterday is the preliminary corrective action plan. We are asking the St. Helens community, including particularly families, to weigh in. There is a survey that is open to seek ongoing. We'd like for the community to review this preliminary document and provide feedback and additional guidance. And so the survey will remain open until the 24th. The other piece that will feed, so information that is received from that survey will feed into the refinement of this preliminary plan into a final plan. In addition, the recommendations that we are expecting to be forthcoming from the third-party investigator will also inform the refinement of the final corrective action plan. And tying back to the emphasis on ongoing accountability, the other piece that you will see when this plan is finalized is clarification for who are the responsible parties for implementing each piece of the corrective action plan, as well as expected implementation dates and what can be expected in terms of ongoing progress monitoring and reporting. A couple other very quick things I want to make sure to elevate to your attention, and that is that the school board will be meeting again next week on the 22nd. And at that meeting, they will be taking action on the qualifications and characteristics for the successor acting superintendent. And we will be hosting another media briefing on January 31st, also at 10 a.m., as has been our pattern so far. So with those opening highlights, to draw your attention to those items, I'd like to go ahead and open it up for your questions.
Jay Marie, I think I'll just bump in real quick. It looks like a couple people, I see Christina is able to record and a couple people are not. My IT guys over here trying to work with that without trying to interrupt our meeting. So if for some reason you're not able to, I will then go ahead and send that out after this meeting. So apologies on my end. And I have about, I've got to scroll through a little bit of pages to see everybody. So I will do my best to try to catch everybody's questions raised. Right now I see Christina and then Kaylin, if we can go ahead and start there.
Yeah, the contract in your Q&A as well mentions that there's a 10-day period of which either party can let the person know that they're terminating the contract earlier than the 90 days. Who sent who the 10-day notice, and can you provide that to us?
Yes, we can provide that to you. And I'm not sure, so I don't want to speculate on that, but we will get the answer to that for you and provide that to you. I want to note that the purpose behind that is in part, or primarily actually, related to honoring the due process for the superintendent who is out on leave. At this time, as we emphasized in the briefings back in December, being on leave is not a presumption of guilt or of innocence either way. It is a standard practice that allows for a thorough and independent investigation and maintains clarity during that of roles and responsibilities during that investigative process. So the fact that the superintendent is on leave is not an assumption of guilt. And so until we know the outcome of the investigation, it is important that the contract for any acting superintendent remain flexible so that it is possible to bring the superintendent back if that is the appropriate course of action. So it leaves all of the options open.
Quick follow-up. We've asked you before if Dr. Webb would be available at these meetings to ask questions directly to. In his absence, since he's not here and has not made himself available, I've asked this question multiple times. What did he know about the teacher that was recently resigned at the Vancouver School District? He was the superintendent there at the time that an internal investigation was conducted into this teacher. Did he know about that internal investigation? Was he aware of those allegations against that teacher?
So I cannot speak to the details of that, but what I can, because the Vancouver process, just like the process that's happening here in St. Helens, needs to be allowed to run its course. But what I can tell you is that Dr. Webb has not been interviewed or investigated related to the ongoing issues in Vancouver, and that is an entirely separate situation that does not have bearing on what's happening here in St. Helens, nor does it have bearing on his on the timing of this transition to the next acting superintendent.
And I know you guys have stated that, but it very much does seem to the person who's observing this that that's not the case. I mean, you terminated this. We were led to believe that this was going to be a 90-day contract. You sort of terminated this contract early. You're saying the circumstances are not involving that, but it happened to coincide with the, revelation that this teacher is facing charges and that he was the superintendent during that time. So it very much does seem to the spectators, to the parents involved in this situation, that it's yet another issue with one of the people brought in this crisis, involved in yet another crisis.
I think I can't speak to any speculation that you or others might do. I can speak to the facts as I understand them, and I believe I have done so.
Thank you, Christina. Let's go to, I have Kaylin, Joni, and John.
Hey there. When was the last time school resource officers were in St. Helens schools, and what is the plan for them to return? Do you guys have a timeline?
I do not have those details in front of me, but we will get that together for you.
Joni, and then John.
Hi, this is a little off topic, but I'm wondering if you can provide an update as to when the report on what happened with the two teachers who were arrested will be released. I know you said 30 to 60 days, but that was for Christmas. I'm just wondering if you could provide a more specific date at this point.
So at this time, we are expecting the recommendations portion of the report from the third-party investigator to be available on or around the 24th. The full report will take a little longer to be released because it will need to be reviewed by legal counsel to identify if there are any areas that require confidentiality or otherwise being withheld by per law. But Dr. Webb and the school board have been very clear that everything that is allowable to be released will be released. So we just need to give the attorneys the opportunity to go through and identify everything that is releasable. So the recommendations we expect to have available on the 24th. The rest of the report will be available as soon as the legal counsel has had the opportunity to do their work.
And just maybe kind of a dumb question, but when you say recommendations, is that sort of like another corrective action plan, like failings that were made, how they can be corrected, that kind of thing?
I believe that it will be certainly complementary to, complementary meaning covering similar ground. The information that is in the preliminary corrective action plan is based on what is publicly known and on the input that has been received through the community engagement, the listening sessions, the conversations with leadership, with families and whatnot. So that's what's currently in the corrective action plan. The recommendations that are provided by the investigator, who will of course have a deeper set of knowledge, that will also then be included in that final corrective action plan. So in terms of what we're expecting from the investigator, yes, we're expecting recommendations related to were there any policies or procedures that were insufficient, or or was additional training necessary and recommended. So those are the kinds of things that we're expecting to get from the investigator, and then those will be used to help refine the final corrective action plan.
Okay, so those recommendations will have some sort of it'll identify some failings that happened that have led to these recommendations being made. Is that fair of me to say?
We anticipate that the investigator has been given full leeway to follow any information wherever it takes them. So whatever opportunities for improvement are found by that investigator, we expect those to be identified as opportunities for improvement, which could also be framed as recommendations.
Thank you, Joni. I have John and Kaylin.
Yeah, this is John over at KGW. I just wanted to ask, we've been hearing from district parents that some are concerned that this preliminary corrective action plan doesn't go far enough based on everything that has happened in the district. I'm just wondering what you would say to those parents that have those concerns.
Most importantly, the district continues to welcome their active involvement and their honest feedback. And so anyone who, we invite folks to please dig into the draft plan and also the feedback that was received during the listening sessions that also was released alongside it, and to please share, any place where a family member or community member thinks that there are opportunities to strengthen that corrective action plan. We welcome their input. So please participate. Please share your thinking and know that it is being taken very seriously and will be used to help refine from the preliminary plan to the final one.
For sure. And one more quick follow-up. Can you just walk us through what the next, I guess, just over 2 weeks are going to look like, the process of bringing in another interim superintendent? What is that process going to look like from your end?
So there is the consulting firm who has donated their time to support the school board in the recruitment and processing of the successor superintendent. So the school board meeting on the 22nd, the board will finalize their expectations in terms of qualifications and search criteria. And we anticipate having the successor superintendent identified by the end of this month so that they can start at the beginning of February.
Thank you, John. I have Kaylin and Christina.
Yeah, another question on the action plan. Can you talk a little bit about those education ombudsman services? What scenarios would that be helpful to families in?
You know, I want to make sure that we give you really accurate information on that, and that is not something that I have participated in the development of, and so we will take a look at that and send you some follow-up information that you can use.
Thank you, Christina.
Yeah, I have some questions about the corrective action plan as well and the time spent doing that. So you're saying that Dr. Webb was solely hired to do this preliminary corrective action plan along with those listening sessions with parents. A lot of the stuff in this, excuse me, in this corrective action plan is stuff that school districts would usually have. Things like training policies, bullying policies. I mean, reinstating the resource officer, I get that, but it doesn't seem like a very extensive planning process. It kind of seems like low-hanging fruit. Did it really take him 2 months of time to do this? And did he have help doing it, or did he act alone in this? I don't see this as being a heavy lifting type situation.
Well, absolutely. The district leadership team, the school board, the acting superintendent, and the larger community all contributed to the development of the preliminary corrective action plan. And I think it would not be a surprise that there are opportunities for improvement, given the nature of the situation that has unfolded in the St. Helens community. It makes sense that there are opportunities to tighten up policy, procedure, training, make sure that the staffing is appropriate to be able to implement those things. So I think that though, sorry, you asked a couple questions altogether, and so my brain went in a few different directions at once.
Yeah, no, the question more specifically is, you mentioned that he was hired for this task alone. Was he literally only hired to hold listening sessions and do the corrective action plan, and then now he's done, he's good to go?
He was hired with 4 priorities at the time. One was to stabilize leadership, because at the time when he was brought in, there was incredible turnover. Superintendent on leave, high school principal on leave, a lot of uncertainty, stress in the larger community. One of his primary assignments from the school board was to create stability at the leadership team level. So that was one of the priorities. Another priority was to quickly and effectively engage the community in conversations about the important matters before the school district. That entailed the listening sessions. It also included his meetings with community leaders, including city leaders, law enforcement leaders. The third priority was to engage fully, openly, and transparently with law enforcement and the other investigations. As you recall, there are multiple investigations moving forward at the same time. His job was to ensure that the district leadership team was fully collaborative, cooperative, and transparent with all of those investigations, and then also to establish this corrective action plan so that the successor superintendent could come in, have clarity of next steps, and then also, as I noted in the last media briefing, the successor superintendent will not only be focused on implementing the corrective action plan, but also the routine business of the district, such as budget development for next year, staffing and program development, and whatnot. So Dr. Webb had 4 priorities presented to him as part of his engagement by the school board. He has accomplished, or will by the end of this month, will have accomplished those, and it is an appropriate time to transition to the successor superintendent to be able to carry out the priorities of the rest of this school year.
And then at a time when you're in a crisis and stability is lacking, why not continue this contract? I don't think a reason for not continuing this contract other than we need to move on to the next thing has been provided.
He was not, as noted that the contract was listed for 90 days. As he stepped in, he was not available to be the acting superintendent through the end of the school year. So, and quite frankly, the school board needed to bring someone in very quickly, as noted, to create stability, to collaborate with law enforcement, right? Like those are important priorities that needed immediate attention. And so Dr. Webb was available to come in and bring leadership to those immediate and urgent needs, and he has done so. And so now that gives the board the opportunity to then identify a successor who will have the capacity to stay through the end of the school year.
We were
if
just never
appropriate.
told that he wasn't available moving forward. That was not made clear to us or parents when he first started, that he was only available temporarily.
Okay.
Let's see if we can get Kaylin in and wrap this up. Kaylin?
Yeah, I know you guys answered this a little bit in the FAQ before this meeting, but I just want to get a little more information. Some people have been concerned about a potential conflict of interest since Webb also works for Human Capital Enterprises. So can you talk about how that collaboration came to be and what Webb's role will be in finding this next superintendent?
The consultants who will work directly with the school board have extensive experience with doing superintendent searches and with identifying the right fit for a school district based on their current needs. Dr. Webb will continue to be available to provide his perspective and his input in that process. And he has also identified that he will remain available to support and consult the transition to the successor superintendent, but he will not be taking a direct role in the search itself. That will be handled by other staff members, and that is being handled on a pro bono basis in support of the school district.
We have time for one more question. Christina?
Yeah, it seems, just as a follow-up to Kaylin's question, that you're asking for a lot of trust from parents when you're saying there will be no conflict of interest, but you're not showing that he actually will not be involved, especially amid, some potential trust issues that come out of the Vancouver School District. It seems like hiring your own firm to conduct that search would parse things out a little bit more and allow for more trust with parents.
And so is there a question?
Yeah, I mean, how would you respond to that issue of you're not offering that, you're calling for a lot of trust from parents and just providing that lip service that he's not going to have a conflict of interest? How will you show them that he will not have a conflict of interest?
I think the district has, in the last 2 months, made incredible strides at being transparent and open, at welcoming input and engaging with the community in multiple levels, and that input is reflected in the work products as each piece comes forward. That transparency, that collaboration has been reflected. You see that in even the listening session summary that was provided really at 2 levels to help meet the needs and interests of parents and community members. There is a summary for those who are pressed for time and or just want what are the high points, but there is also the documentation behind that summary that captures the full input. So that is an example of the kind of transparency that Dr. Webb has stated he expects of the leadership team and of himself, that has been followed through on. And the idea of that this is a long-term body of work that the district leaders are expecting to be held accountable, that the corrective action plan includes or will include, when it is finalized, the who is doing what, by when, how will it be reported, and where are the opportunities for the community to continue to be engaged. And so I think at each step along the way, the district is being very intentional to demonstrate both transparency and follow through and opportunities, and not just an opportunity for accountability, but an invitation and an expectation that they continue to be held accountable for doing what they say they will do.
Sorry, the question wasn't really answered though. How will you show that there's no conflict of interest instead of just saying it?
I think in the operations of how the search is conducted and the staff members who collaborate with the school board to do that work, and the fact that it will be at the school board's guidance, things like the criteria and qualifications, those are items that the school board will identify that will then lead the search process. And you will be able to see throughout the process that those qualifications are what guide the search itself, and you'll be able to see who is involved in bringing the candidates forward and in helping to support the school board in the search and selection process.
Thank you, J. Marie, and thank you for everyone for joining us today. As a reminder, we'll have one additional media briefing on Friday the 31st, also at 10 a.m. And I will work on downloading this briefing today and going ahead and sharing it out. And so if I don't hear from you in a little while, have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you on the 31st.
Stacy, sorry, will you be sending that 10-day notice that I requested today?
We will put it on our list, and probably won't be till next week, but I will see what I can come up with.
Okay, could you tell me like why next week, or is it something that has to be searched? Because it seems like a pretty simple document. I can put in a rec request, but
Yeah,
it seems like a pretty
that would be great. That would be
seems
great.
like a pretty simple turnaround, though.
Thank
No
you. You can
transfer
find the
have it
email as a
today.
public records request. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Bye.
Recording